We're live, just like that. It's like magic.
hmm
Who are we live today with? Can you be so kind as to introduce yourself, kind sir?
Hi everyone, my name is Rehan. I live in Pakistan. I'm from Pakistan, and I don't see myself live on your wall though. But
You
that's
don't?
why. Oh, there you are. There I am.
And
Yes,
and there I am. So you're live. You're live. Are you in Pakistan today?
I am in Rome, Italy, roaming around.
Roaming around in Italy.
Yes.
Um, what do you think of Italy?
Um, what do I think of Italy? Italy is like any other place in the world. It's its own place. Um, it's when I go to countries where things are really, really old, it feels funny because um, it's hard to imagine that 2,000 years ago or 4,000 years ago, um, they built stuff like this, like crazy stuff, crazy gigantic stuff, which without crane and electricity. And it's just insane how, like, I was in a city or like a village which was on the peak of a mountain, and when you're going there, it's like somebody just placed a castle on top of the mountain. It's just unbelievable. You can't even, it's really even hard to believe that it exists. And it was there, and I stayed there and I walked around the streets, and it was like pulling my hair out that you're in medieval times or something. And it's real. And there were no cranes. And then I was coming back, and my hotel had a big uh, wheel of a wheelbarrow, and you look at it and you realize that 120 years ago, 100 years ago, 120 years ago, there was no rubber tire and no rubber chicken, and here we are, only 100 years after, where we can just go on our phone and pick up the phone and book an airline ticket in a minute and just sit on a plane and go, or book a hotel room, and we come in and we expect perfect service. And we don't really realize what our ancestors have done for us. And then on the most advantageous thing I get is when I'm driving is not to use my phone, so I can't really use Facebook anymore. So I have to listen to something. So I listen to books. So on this trip, I have been hearing uh, Homo sapiens actually, and Obama has recommended this book. President Obama has recommended this book to be read by everyone. I think it should be introduced in schools. There are certain books I have read in my life which should be introduced in the schools, because it's just insane how petty we are and how much we argue on really petty issues in the world, and how we really are nothing, and at the same time we have so much power, just like those ants who build those tunnels and everything, and those, what are those animals which well, like chop the tree off and build the entire town on the river.
Are you talking?
So
Are you talking about
the what?
termites?
No, those giant, big animals which are in North America mostly, and they chop off the trees and they build their houses on the river in the trees. I can't remember the name. It's a very famous animal. Anyway, so yeah, that's how my trip is going. I don't know. I've been you have transferred your rambling service over to me, I guess.
You know what? And that's the thing. This wise person told me today, they were like, hey, Amber, if you want to be good at interviewing, you need to shut your mouth and listen. And
Oh,
I really like to listen to wise people. So you're
yeah.
considered a wise person. You have quite a lot of followers. And as I was listening to you tell me about Italy and how monumental the feats of man have been, even pre-technology days, the first thing I was wondering is, you mentioned this peak that you were on. What was the name of the peak? The mountain peak.
It's called
where?
Pelion.
And you mentioned there was a building that was built there. What's the name of the building?
It's not a building, it's a village. It's called Pelion. I have published quite a few photos of it, and we'll make a small documentary on it. It's really interesting to see that place. If you go to my YouTube channel, I have tons of raw footage there. Hopefully our office will convert it into a nice looking video soon, and then you can watch it.
Well, you have 170,000 followers online. I do believe, at least on Facebook. I think you have more on other platforms. Where's your biggest following? Is that on Facebook mostly?
So I have 170,000 followers and 560,000 Facebook page likes. So if you combine them, that's like 700,000 people. But that doesn't make me a wise person. It just makes me a loud person. The guy who wrote *Sapiens* has 23,000 followers, and Obama is talking about him. And then there are thousands of people in the world who have done amazing things. If they have no followers on Facebook, that doesn't make them unwise. So I think we should all be loud enough to get our voices heard, and that's what I preach almost every day. To pick up your phone and broadcast what you believe in. And before, even a year ago, it wasn't possible to do this. 5 years ago, it wasn't possible to post your video on Facebook, or 10 years ago, there was no YouTube. So you really couldn't do what you can do 10 years ago. It's impossible. So I was in a conference with a Palestinian guy, and he freaked out after meeting me and seeing all those followers. And he was my roommate, and I said, I wish everybody in Palestine had 100,000 followers. Why? So that they can be heard. That's like 2 million multiplied by 100,000 followers. That's a lot of followers. And then it's impossible to get fake news. So all of a sudden, whatever the real news is, they will be able to broadcast it from Palestine, and people will actually be able to see if they're lying or they're actually telling the truth. Same goes for the US, same goes for Pakistan. People are rambling around on your Facebook wall, oh, help me, inbox me, oh, I need money. Can you do a 2-minute video, please? Tell me what happened. No, I can't do a video. I'll die if I do a video. Somebody will come and kill me. Fine, go die, jump off the roof or something. I don't care. If you can't even help yourself, I can't help you. Nobody can help you if you're really not willing to help yourself. So,
but do you think that every voice should be heard, really, truly? And that what I mean by that is, you mentioned there's no such thing as fake news if everybody starts talking, but there's a lot of idiots in the world, and there's a lot of people that have not so nice things to say. What do you think about that? I mean, here in America, one of the big things is everything has to be politically correct. So much that they continuously change labels, and they vilify certain words because it no longer fits the socially accepted stereotype. Like, we talk about freedom of speech, but truly, there's a cost. There is a cost of what you say, how you put yourself out there, whether or not your message is one that could be respected. I called you wise for a reason. I've done my research on you. You have a lot of followers because the things that come out of your mouth and the things that come out of your brain are respectable. They line up logically. They're ethical. You've also accomplished a great many things. And so when I'm calling you wise, it's not to stroke your ego. It's because you have proven yourself to be worthy of that title. That being said, not everybody online is like you. What do you have to say about that?
So I wasn't born the way I am. My mother didn't eat a wise pill or got an injection for me with the polio vaccination that, this guy should be wise, and neither did happen to other people. it's just exposure. And the way you become wise is by knowing what to say, when to say, and what not to say. For example, you were saying you had a book out there which had a funny name, and that made you wiser not to use that word anymore online. So unless you take an action, how could you know what the reaction is of that action? And unless you know what the reaction would be, how would you know if it's going to be successful or a failure? So if you want to become somebody like me, take a lot of actions, and they all might be a lot of people might think it's stupid, but look at what has happened to Trump. By taking a lot of actions, he has become the president of the United States. We don't even know if he is educated or not, but he is president of the United States. So if all it took was he's loud enough. The others, and he had a thick skin. The other guys in the gang with him were not as thick a skin as him. They couldn't take the heat. They just said, "Okay, I can't take this anymore. I'm going to leave this." And they just freaked out. Look at Jeb Bush. Just he was supposed to be the next president, and look at who else became. So
Jeb Bush likes to get spanked. Just
yeah.
saying.
Well, all I'm saying is that not everybody is going to. We are all wise. We are all smart based on what we know. There is a very long video I have, an hour long. It's in Urdu, unfortunately. It explains why I think that there is no stupid people and there's no negative people in the world.
So you believe in the growth mindset, meaning that we are all born with the capacity to become something great as long as we believe it and we're nurtured and we go after it.
We all have the same capacity. Yes, majority of us are born with the same tools, same time, same 24 hours, same tools, same equipment. It's like you have a MacBook or you have a Windows computer or an iPhone, and I choose to. How many people have an iPhone in the world? 500 million, and how many people use it for the way I do it? Almost no. 1 million, 10,000. I don't know. It's that the equipment is the same. How many people have a smartphone in Pakistan? How many people have a smartphone in the US? How many people have Facebook? How many people in the US are choosing to do what you're doing right now?
Not very many. And here's the thing, a lot of people don't, and even where I'm at, they're like, Amber, what the heck are you doing? And why are you talking to people in Pakistan? And are you going to go join Al-Qaeda and become a terrorist? I literally have had people knock on my door to say, hey, I'm really concerned that you have so many Pakistanis on your friend list. I'm worried that something bad's going to happen to me and my family. I've lost business over it. It's one of those things that when I first started online, it started out with I was trying to rebuild my life, and I knew that I wanted to become a writer and I wanted to publish books. And I was like, well, how is anybody going to find my books? Well, Facebook is a brilliant tool for marketing if you're in business. And for me, it's continued to evolve. And now I'm doing interviews. I'm making friends internationally, and I'm staying true with what I originally started, which is that I want to be an internationally known published author. But the story is evolving as I've opened myself up to getting to know more about the world instead of being so narrow-minded. And for me, what you're doing online is inspirational, motivational, and gives me hope for a better world, because that's one of the things that I'm noticing is that we have more and more people that are like this, and they're like, I voted for Trump because he's going to make America great again, and he's really good at business. But they don't know anything about business. They don't even know, you know what I mean? Like, so I appreciate the evolution of this and also what you're doing about Facebook. So tell me about your social experiment.
So I have a small suggestion for you. These people who come knocking at your door and these people who are narrow-minded, sit with them, listen to them, try to understand what they're saying and why they're saying, and agree with them because they are saying what they believe in based on what they know. So what you can do is you can help them become from this to this. It will take some time. Now what you do is you, for example, this lady, whoever comes in and she loves her, well, Marcy, I love going, it's support you. Can I, you love going to, can you tell me 1 minute video? Can I make a video about you, about, can you tell me about Jesus in 1 minute long? Because then Jesus will give you the brownie points or the, you know, the kudos, and then help them get their words out. And by doing that, they will become from this to this. And that's what I have people. I mean, you can go and you Google me more and you can find, I've been going and giving lectures in different madrasas, school madrasas, which actually banned Facebook a few years ago in Pakistan. 5 years ago, Facebook was banned before. 10 days, for 10 days it was closed. And then Yahoo was closed. And the books you see are a result of going to these madrasas, because when I went to them, I saw that they don't know anything about the internet. I saw that they don't really understand how the internet works. So I wrote a book. I had a video which I made for my office called, you know, it was just explaining a book called The World is Flat. And nobody in my office was willing to read it because it's an 8-hour video or an audiobook. So I actually sat in front of the camera and asked one of my guys that I will explain the book for you guys in Urdu. So I explained the book. It took me an hour to explain the book, and I added some stuff in it. And then 2 years later, I went to this madrasa and I saw, there are 6,000 students in this one school, and they don't really understand English. And even if I give them English books, it wouldn't really make sense to them because the chairman of the madrasa doesn't understand English. So how can I expect the students to understand English? And then I went to the stores and I looked for Urdu books on computers, on internet, and there was nothing. There's absolutely no books, non-existing. So I just had somebody type the book and had it printed and then started giving out. And I've given out maybe 30,000 books so far, and it's just, people are loving it. It has nothing in it. It's honest to God, I think it's a crappy book. There's nothing in it. And I think that if people think that this book is good, then really we have done a phenomenally stupid job in our country that we don't know anything. So when it comes even little bit of water, it's like they're so hungry, which is, I'm not saying they're bad people. As I said, the equipment is the same. We all have a smartphone. We all have the internet. We all have the Facebook. It's Trump wins an election, Obama wins an election using the same exact tools, and the other guys lose the election exactly using the same tools because they're using it in a different way. That's all. That's all. I think the world is the most equal place today than it ever was. And as time will come, if we live as human beings, it'll become more equal. And it's scary for a lot of people that it's becoming so equal. So those people who are narrow-minded, it's your job. They're actually coming to you. So I love those people who come to me with a narrow mind. I love them.
I was mean to her.
They're so amazing. All you have to do, it will only make you thicker skin. And the more thicker skin you have, the bigger of a leader you are. Okay, tell me, if there are 300 million US citizens, if there were 300 million voters, how many voters do you need to win? 50%, right?
Yeah.
And the 50% will, when they don't vote for you, they talk against you. If you can't handle 5 people who are going to talk against you, you think you can win an election? Never. So the number one ingredient to be a change maker is to be a thicker skin person. The moment nothing stops you from your goal, that's when you're successful at everything. Everything. It doesn't matter business, but it doesn't matter your belief. Provocation is going to kill everything. If anybody is able to provoke you, that means you're dead. It's impossible to live if you can just die from other people's words. I mean, giving word, if you could just say 5 bad words and I could get angry, that means I gave remote control of my life in your hands against 5 words. I mean, how stupid am I? Would you let anybody control you? No, you wouldn't let anybody control you, but against 5 or 10 words, you would let anybody control you? Come on. No.
Well, me, I'm perfect in every way, and I never react to anything. And my skin is so thick that I can't even get a pimple. I'm one of those people that, I guess that's been one of my biggest challenges in life is that I'm an emotional person. Sneezing? Are you allergic to me? I'm an emotional person, and people do affect me and the things that people say. And so when I had somebody, knock on my door and with concern about my friends in Pakistan, my reaction was, well, you're a racist and you're a bigot. And I said all these horrible things to her. And she's one of the nicest people that I've ever met. I mean, honestly, she really is a really nice person. I was just so angry because, huh?
And you're saying you're a thick.
I was joking about my thick skin.
If you
I can't hear you. Where did you go? Come back.
Are you here?
I'm here.
Okay. If you are getting angry, it simply means that you need to work on yourself. That's all.
Indeed.
And
I'm not going to disagree.
There's nothing in the world that should make you angry. If you want to be successful at anything, successful at life, nothing else matters. Not be emotional and not be reactive to other people's words. That's all. If I was you, this was. I have so many people in my Facebook as friends right now who work and helped me, who hated me, who mocked me, who did so many bad words. I love those people because they're giving me their time. They're taking time to go and studying me. There are only 2 people right now in the planet I know of who have not. I have not. One is your friend in your friend list, I think, or at least I saw a comment by him, and he has not been able to change. There's another one who doesn't say anything to me on my face, but there's this guy, and there's a third one who has started lunch, dinner, everything, but he just wouldn't come and talk. He would just go on Facebook and type. Except those 3 human beings, I don't know anyone who I have not been able to convert into, I empower them. I try to see what is that you want. And whatever you want, I'll try to give it to you. And they're happy. Basically, people who are moaners are just like small little kids. They want a candy. Just give them a candy. They will get quiet for an hour. And then they want another candy. Give them another candy. And it's up to you how often you give them. It's like,
Do you like to spoil children?
No, I am very opposite to spoiling.
Because if you give a whiny kid candy every time it whines, you're just spoiling them.
Sometimes you have to.
Why can't we just beat them until they're like little, like broken, crippled little children? I'm just kidding. I'm making jokes. I like to make jokes. You should know this.
Yeah, I think it doesn't work. It worked on me. My dad hit me a lot, but we're not friends then. You end up losing a friend. And your child today.
I didn't raise my daughter in a way that required hitting, etc. The few times that I've actually ever hit my daughter have been emotional reactions and not good, smart calls in any, you know what I mean? So for me, learning to not hit people, that was a good skill set to learn because I used to like to hit. When I was younger, I was quite the little scrappy fighter girl. And that doesn't really work very well in politics. For example, if I wanted to be president of the United States, I couldn't go around punching other world leaders that I disagree with. correct? No? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
So, what do you think one of the biggest misconceptions is about Pakistan?
Say that again.
What do you think one of the biggest misconceptions is about Pakistan?
I think one of the boys just wrote on my wall that Pakistan is the best country of the world and we love Pakistan. And his profile photo is of Erdogan from Turkey. I don't know why he has put a photo of Erdogan if he thinks Pakistanis are the best creatures in the world. So that's the biggest problem I see in the world today is that we have all been nationalized, and we no longer, unfortunately, we again, I would recommend everybody to read this book, Sapiens, because it's just 2 billion years of history compiled into a small book. It's very well written. I think I'm a big fan of this writer now, the way he has explained. And I was watching him and Chris Anderson, the founder of TED.com, watching, and Chris was like, all the answers, he was waiting for them to just come out of his mouth. You see, every nation in the world is the best nation in the world. Every human being in the world is the best human being in the world. It's what they do and how they treat other people and who they are makes them great. Pakistan being the number one country in the world means that you have to make some other country number two, number three, number four. It could be your personal priority, but you cannot be judgmental about any country. I think one of the most kindest, sweetest, loving people in the world live in United States, in United Kingdom, in Pakistan, in India, in Kashmir, in Palestine, in Israel, you name it. Every single country has amazing people. I have never been mistreated differently in other countries. I have been bigoted in Pakistan and I've been bigoted in the US. So how does it make it any different? It's just my personal experience is different than the personal experience of the old lady who is the nicest woman, as you said, and who came to your door. It's just that she has not been exposed. So this gentleman has not been exposed to other countries. And I think I've been to 85 countries so far, and I can tell you that they're all the same. We have just created stories around these that because we needed control. The leaders needed control, and that's why the leader needs to tell a story. And you need a tribe to control. And for example, you said I have 700,000 followers, so there's a story behind my followers. So everybody who's my followers can come to a Rehan Allahwala meetup, and because they're there because it's my meetup. So it's a story which is needed to combine. So nationalism has to go away if we want to live as a planet Earth, because the planet Earth is sick right now, and the planet Earth requires all the Earthlings to cooperate, to collaborate, to live together in peace and harmony, just like we live in different provinces in Pakistan in peace and harmony. Just like in the United States, 50 states live together in peace and harmony under one agenda. Similarly, 198 countries need to collaborate and communicate together to each other so that we can live in peace and harmony. Otherwise, one crazy guy is enough to go and blow up the earth. It's just crazy. And the things which actually matter and are significant enough, they're not in the hands of politicians anymore. Unfortunately, it's in the hands of entrepreneurs. People like Google and Facebook control more of the world than the presidents of the countries do. They know more about us than the presidents of our parents or even ourselves know about ourselves. So we're living in a very different age, which requires us to unlearn what we have already learned. And the reality is that we are living in multiple realities, and it's very challenging for a person to understand this world who hasn't really seen it with many different glasses. It's very challenging for them to understand me or you, and it's very hard for that woman who came to your door and knocked and saying, "Why are you having so many people from Pakistan?" It's very hard for her to understand because all her life she grew up. Can you imagine for a 70-year-old person how the life was 70 years ago, or 65 years ago, and then 60 years ago, and then 55 years ago? Imagine from a large disc, or even before that, 70 years ago, there was this large disc used for playing a music, and then there was no such thing called video, and then the video came, and then the reel came, and then the cassette came, and the CD came, and now the MP3 came, and then this small little thing can have all the music in the planet all of a sudden. Can you imagine how the world is in their heads? Can you imagine how hard it is for them to be alive? Can you imagine how hard it is for them to unlearn and relearn everything every 5 years? Can you convince that woman to use a touch phone even? Forget about anything. It's so hard for us to change. It's so hard because we grew decades, and all of a sudden now in 10 years we have to grow. Oh my God, so many things in 5 years, everything changes. Everything changes. Even freaking Facebook. If Facebook changes the interface, people will go crazy because people will not know where to log in, where to log out. What happened here? How do I log into my Facebook? They can't even change their password. Hello. So the reality of majority of the planet is very different, and we all have very different realities. So it's very challenging for people to unlearn and relearn and unlearn again and relearn again and unlearn again. It's a constant battle to live in today's society. And I was watching yesterday a news feed on an Urdu Facebook channel. Everybody was typing block Facebook, block Facebook, block Facebook, block Facebook, block Facebook. And all these people who wrote, 90% of them who wrote, I'm sure they just got onto Facebook a year ago or less. And they started using the internet only a year ago or less. And they are going and giving fatwa or giving they're telling that this is how the world should work. They don't know anything about the world. They don't have a clue. They would die for a 20,000 rupee job, which is $200 a month. And they're telling the world how the world should look like. We need to understand. We need to understand things before we can tell people what is right and what is wrong. It's very challenging to say you're wrong. I never say anybody you're wrong anymore because they're not wrong. They're actually correct because what they know is absolutely true. But all of a sudden, there are 2 billion followers of Christianity. There are 2 billion followers of Islam. There are 2 billion followers of other religion. There are 7,000 languages. Which one is the best language? How can you say my mother tongue is better than your mother tongue? So how can you say my mother was better than your mother? Who is to decide what is better? So it's easier said than done to help people realize that the world is, you haven't been to Pakistan, but I can guarantee you, if you ask me, how is Pakistan like? I can tell you it's a different planet. It's like you were just landed in Mars. It's impossible to explain to you how is it over there. It's impossible because there is no book which can describe everything. There is no book. It's not possible to illustrate small little things. It's like describing how a passion fruit tastes like. It's difficult, right?
How would you describe a passion fruit?
It's difficult. It's how can you describe? There are not enough words and vocabulary to explain what passion fruit tastes like. It's like passion in your mouth. It's just amazing. It depends what you like, right? So how would you describe a durian fruit? I don't know if you've ever eaten a durian fruit. Most people who are watching this have never probably had a durian fruit, but it's the king of fruit in Southeast Asia. If you haven't had the king of the fruits, you're talking, everything about the world and you're going to change it. We don't know shit about this world. We don't know anything about this world. We know nothing. The more you know that you know nothing. That's what it is true. It was true 2,000 years ago, and it's true today. The more you know, the more you realize that you really don't know anything.
Well, the people here, mostly, if I was to ask 10 people in a room, what do you think would happen to me if I went to Pakistan? I would say that at least 8 people would tell me that I'd probably get murdered, kidnapped, and sold into some sort of slavery. That's the common thing. Because, I mean, I've been, people asking me, like, are you going to go to Pakistan? I was like, well, of course I'm going to go. Oh, no. You can't go there. You're going to get killed over there. Especially you, Amber. What do you think about things like that?
I think we all know what we know. Everybody in Pakistan thinks that you run naked in your house and you're naked everywhere and you sleep with every man. That's what they think based on what they know. So, right? So that's what they know. It doesn't mean that that's true. It's what they know. That's what they have been taught. And you asked me earlier, what about my experiment? My experiment was to prove that if we change the social media environment, especially on Facebook, of people, their minds will change. Just like your mind has changed and you're saying, of course I'm going to go to Pakistan. 2 years ago, if somebody asked you that, you would shoot them also. It would be the same. Just because your social experience changed with people made your mind change and your learning became different than what it was. So that's what required for most of us. So if we can change the social environment of people, even on Facebook, I cannot afford to buy everybody a plane ticket round trip around the globe. It's very expensive for me to do that. But I can still give out thousands of more laptops easily. And I would be very happy if people were to take it from me, because all that means is that one more free mind is out there. Every single person who has passed or received a gift from me, I would say they're a changed person. They're no longer the same person. They're a thinker, they're exposed. People travel around the globe, but they still don't know anything about the world. They come in, for example, a lot of Americans travel to Italy, to Venice. Venice is always full of Americans, and Italy, and everywhere you go, you see a lot of Americans, older people. But you know what? They come in their boxes. They go to the hotel. They have their buffet. They have their English-speaking guide who shows around everything to them. Oh, look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that. And then they go home. And they know nothing about that country. They don't know anything about the culture of that country. They don't know anything about that country. They don't know anything about well, I wouldn't say anything, but hello, you can't. I think that we have no right to tell about a country or about a kind of people unless we have slept 10 days in 10 different houses of that country. I don't think it's even fair to even give a comment about that culture. It's impossible to do that. It's just unfair, unjust to do that, because it's just impossible. It's impossible to. It's wrong. It's just wrong. It's like you had you had an omelet, and this is the best omelet in the world or is the worst omelet in the world. Hello, you've only had one omelet in your life. How could you know if it is good or bad? Hello, how can you be a judge of something you don't know? Or I had the best mother. Hello, how many moms did you have? Oh, I have the best country in the world. How many countries have you been national of? How many countries have you lived in? Oh, this is, so it's just people are too judgmental very quickly based on what they know. It's nothing wrong with it. It's just how we were raised. We are always raised. You failed, you passed. You're number 1, you're number 2, you're number 3, you're number 4. Hello. It's a race. It's this crappy race. Most of us are going to remain part of. Most of us are going to remain sheeplings, not human beings.
The leaping of the lemmings. Have you heard of that? The leaping of the lemmings?
Well, I don't know. I love the game, but I don't know if that is what you're referring to.
Well, the leaping of the lemmings, interesting enough, was Walt Disney. Basically, the story is that the lemmings every year, like throw themselves off of a cliff. They all follow each other. They throw themselves off of a cliff to their death. So what the saying is don't be a lemming. In other words, don't be one of those people that's going to throw yourself off a cliff just because everybody else is doing it.
People will.
But people will. And this is the thing, is if you are connected to the world and you are talking to great leaders and you are in tune with what's happening to the globe and the planet environmentally, economically, politically, etc., for me, I'm inspired to make a difference. And I'm grateful for the internet because it allows me to connect with other leaders and like-minded people. It helps me learn. It helps me grow. I like what you're doing as far as the laptops are concerned, but it's kind of like people are sometimes at different levels. And for example, the homeless gentleman that you gave the laptop to in California asked you what happened with him, and you said that he got his laptop and you never heard from him again. What do you imagine happened to him? Do you think that he used that tool the way that you intended, or do you think he used that tool to sell and perhaps get some drugs or alcohol?
So I have been giving computers for like at least 15 or 17 years. It's not that it started 2 years ago, right? So I've been experimenting this for a long, long time. I believe that computers change people's lives. There are research available that if you give a phone to a person, 10 people come out of poverty instantaneously, or like over the period of 2 years. So similarly, if somebody is given a laptop, it's a tool for them to come out of poverty even further. Now, the reason I chose for them to have 500 mutual friends is a way for them to gel, to open their mind and then have a laptop. It's really powerful. So if I did not give that laptop to that homeless guy in San Diego, I wouldn't be who I am, because it was for me. It was a gift from me to him, to learn from him, to see what happens. I knew there were very bleak chances that he will actually use it, but he promised. He attended 3-day conference with me. I sneaked him into a conference, and after the 3 day of conference, he actually stole a computer. Then I went, I was so embarrassed. I went and saw him, and I found the computer. He was drunk, so I had to request him, can you bring it back? So he brought it back, and I felt really miserable because the guy who he stole the computer from was not well off, and it was a really, it was a basic computer, but it's not that the computer mattered. It's just that I was sneaking in someone in a conference which I wasn't supposed to, and he sort of made me look really bad. However, he returned it. It was fine. The computer was fine. And next day I got him this new laptop. He was very happy. I knew that he won't really use it. But if I did not, I wouldn't learn about my next journey. So my next journey was to make the Homeless American website and have a division where I created this, because I spent a lot of hours with this guy. I was in a conference, but I wasn't speaking. I wasn't at the conference. I was actually just hanging out with this homeless guy. And I learned that he had a master's degree. He was in the army. He could speak 3 languages. He has been overseas. He has been to 10 countries in the army in the US.
Is your hand over your mic?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Well, yeah, it sounds like there's something swishing over your mic. And so I want to hear the story because it's wonderful. So he was in the military.
He was a veteran, and he had 2 girlfriends. He was a homeless guy, and he had 2 girlfriends. I was like, what? How? Hello? It was just, and he was like 65, and his girlfriends were like 25 and 30 years old. He was like, hello? How did that happen? He's like, oh, it's easy. And I say, okay, well, whatever you say, man. So anyways, he was a civil engineer, and he claimed that he knew how to use a computer. But I'd offered him, would you like to come to Pakistan, and I would give you a house, I would give you a job. You just have to teach English to people. He said, no, I'm not going to go to Pakistan. They'll kill me. I said, you would rather live on this grass than go to Pakistan? He said, yeah, I'm happier here. I get free medicine. I said, you'll get free medicine, free everything there, man. Just sit on the plane and go. I said, no, I'm not going there. So that made me realize that how scared people are of Pakistan and other countries. So I said, well, would you go to Nigeria or Somalia or some other country? No, I like America. I like to stay here. I was like, okay. So even though he has traveled to 10 countries, he has lived within the base. So he only knew Americans even overseas. So he didn't really knew anything. And that's why I want to build a retreat, and the retreat will take those people in, let them make new friends, hang out with these friends, clean them up for a month. After they're comfortable, we teach them social media, we teach them, Skype and stuff, and Facebook, and then we get them 500 friends from all over the globe. They make a bonding between each other. And then when they have the bonding, then we offer them a job overseas as English teacher. Very, very simple job. And there are 100,000 plus Americans right now who are homeless in the US. And if I could do this with 5%, that's 5,000 teachers exported out of the US, and the world will be speaking American English. Woohoo! And that would be great for them. So I want to build this retreat where they come in for 3 months to 6 months. They come in, they hang out, they just chill, and they learn technology, and they clean themselves up, and then we export them overseas, and everybody's happy. The states don't have to push them from one state to another. Right now, all states give them a one-way ticket from one place to another. A lot of people just feed them. And it's not a homeless problem in the US only, it's all over the world. I've seen this everywhere, except the poor countries. You don't see these homeless as many as in Pakistan. You don't see as many homeless as you see in California or in San Francisco, to be honest. It's strange, but it's true.
But do you have the drug problems and the alcoholism in Pakistan?
Not alcoholism.
So the tricky part, I'm going to cut you off. The big thing, though, as far as the homelessness, and I'm not saying that all homeless people are drug addicts or alcoholics. I'm saying that the issue here, as far as our homelessness, is especially tied to drugs and alcohol. I mean, a huge percentage of it. And you assume that people would want to have a better life, but sometimes people get almost addicted to what's comfortable and what's familiar and what they know. And I ran away from home and was homeless. By homeless meaning I had a place to live because people let me couch surf and took me in. And, I've always had somebody that was willing to open a door to me, but I've never had the resources from a very young age to actually take care of myself, provide for myself. And I've always been at the mercy of people being kind to me in some way, especially when I was young. But because I had all sorts of friends, and because I had this certain crowd, and I hung out with the people that were drug addicts, drug dealers, thieves, those types of people, many of them really liked what they were doing as much as they were unhappy. They weren't willing to change. And that's kind of where I'm wondering is, like you said, the homeless people in Pakistan are completely different than the homeless people here. Do you really think that Pakistan wants to be polluted by people that have so many problems and are not willing to be changed?
As I said, we will keep them in the thingy, in the retreat, clean them up, give them a different mindset, give them a social circle which will allow them to remain normal. The social experiment has proved to me that, you talk about you writing the best love story in the world. Love is nothing except a chemical reaction in our brain, right? It's nothing else. It's anger, and nothing else. It's just what's this hormone that comes out of our brain? It's called
Dopamine, serotonin.
Dopamine. So oxytocin and dopamine, and we have, we have oxytocins, right? So these real life actions allow more oxytocins to be released in our brain, thinking that we are in love, and our brain starts to like those oxytocins, and we become a drug addict, which is a drug addict of oxytocin. You write in your story book that you enjoy falling in love and being in love because it's a drug. It's really a drug. It's nothing else. It's like heroin. You're just addicted to it. You hate it, but you still love it. It's the same thing. But if you or anyone finds a source of this drug without using the chemical version of it, you remain stable. And I have seen people change because we become like the people around us. And that's why I want to try to do the retreat where their social circle changes, and when their social circle changes, they change. And they become the sheeplings, and the sheeplings don't really leave their tribe. They remain within the tribe. Sometimes there's one black sheepling, but what to do? We have to sometimes kill him or eat him alive or do something. I don't know. But I don't have all the answers in the world yet. But I know we're going through a very interesting evolutionary time where, can you imagine, Amber? You're sitting in Washington State. I'm sitting in Rome. 116 people are watching from around the globe. A guy from India is typing from a guy on Pakistan's video chat constantly. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's a changing world. It's happened in the last 10 years. What will happen in the next 10 years? Who can even imagine? Who can even imagine what will happen in 10 years? It's impossible to imagine because the exponential growth is happening. It's not a linear growth which happened in the last 1,000 years. It's all exponential growth. The exponential means 1 to 30 is a billion. In linear terms, 1 to 30 is 30. In exponential, we have the exponential coming. We are coming to a very interesting tipping point of humankind. Mito Kolu, whatever his name is, he claims that we're entering into the 4th dimension of humankind, of humanity. And
Armageddon.
Well, Armageddon or not, AI, artificial intelligence, definitely are going to become obsolete. It's a given. I can't remember my kids' names sometimes. It's a very bad thing. I can't remember my colleagues' names. I can't remember where I wake up in the morning sometimes. It's just crazy. But, the computer, unfortunately, remembers everything and knows everything at all given times. And that's what makes it more powerful. Right now, it does not have too much requirement for oxytocins, but maybe in future it will have requirement for oxytocins also. So the world is changing, and I really don't know how to help a gazillion people, but people think I'm a very strong person, but I wake up to this question a lot of times that what I'm doing is maybe wasting my time. But then I read this story where this guy was on the beach and there were a lot of starfishes, and he was picking up a starfish and throwing them back in the ocean. And one boy comes and says, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm saving a starfish." And there were thousands of starfish on the beach. And he says, "Well, how do you think it makes a difference in their lives? They're all dying." He said, he picks up another one and he throws it back in the ocean and said, "Well, I changed one more life." So that's basically, I don't know if that's a sane way to do it, because there's so many to be saved. It's just, I don't know. It's just a lot of work. But I keep on doing what I'm doing, and I'm doing it less for other people and doing it more for myself. If I enjoy it, I'll do it. If I don't enjoy it, I'll stop doing it. Because in the end of the day, I have seen so many castles being built. I mean, On this trip alone, I've seen like maybe 50, 60, 100 castles and thousands of hotels, right? And each hotel has a different story. And so every person who's writing the story of each hotel has a different story. Similarly, they're all building their own hotel, or they have the best hotel in the world, or they have the best castle in the world, they have the best city in the world. And what's best? Nothing is best except for what we want for ourselves. So the faster we can live for ourselves, the faster we can be happier, so-called happier, or more oxytocins for us. Ooh! And we, in our country, we live for other people. Most of the people live for other people. I don't say it's a bad thing, but I don't think sun lives for us. I think sun just empowers us. I think the moon doesn't live for us. I think it just empowers us. It just lives for itself, and it's its purpose. So we should all find our purposes and live our purpose rather than trying to tell everybody else what you should do with your what's the right purpose. Shouldn't.
I think that you're not the only one that struggles with wondering, is what I'm doing, does it matter on a big and on the scale that you want it to? For example, there are a lot of people out in the world that are building castles and hotels while there's a lot of people that are suffering. You can hear my business manager just got here and she's knocking at the door. So I have to end this live video with you today. But it was really a pleasure to speak with you. It was a pleasure to speak with you today. I appreciate your time, your talent, and your wisdom. As much as you like to discredit yourself in your humbleness, I appreciate the things that you're doing with social media, and I'm glad to be a part of it, directly or indirectly. And what do you want to leave? What do you want to leave this video with? What's your last thing that you want to say to people before we log off?
Well, we have 111 people watching this video. I dare all of you to share this video. I dare all of you to ask all your friends to follow Amber and add me on Facebook.
I think that's a great way to end this. Thank you so much, Rehan. I appreciate you. Have a lovely, beautiful day.
So let's see it, but I have 111.
122 now. There's 120 people, 2 people watching.
Oh, we like you, we love you so much, but they don't really want to take any actions for it, right? We just, we like you, but we don't like you. We are, it's too difficult. Oh, we can't change ourselves. We have to, the whole.
We will see how many brave souls we have.
We